Asa Rehmann is play-by-play for AM 730 for all things Vancouver Whitecaps. Also, I should mention a Chelsea fan. We will get to Chelsea later in today's chat. But listen, mate, welcome to Room 442. It's always fun to beat Toronto FC. And Vancouver's doing that a lot these days. Did it on the weekend 2-1, up to fourth now in the table. Teams playing well, signing players. It seems that maybe something special is brewing on the West Coast right now in Major League Soccer.
It's a great way to put it, James, and happy to be on the show. But that's one thing that Vanni Sartini's talked about from the beginning of the season, coming into this season. He's mentioned it over and over again, saying that this is a special season. He wants the players to embrace the fact that he feels this can be a special season. It started with winning the Voyageurs Cup. Then they recently won the Cascadia Cup as well. And then dominating the Canadian teams as well. Beat Montreal earlier, beating TFC, showing that they are the best team in Canada. That's just part of it. But I think the ultimate goal, obviously, is to win MLS Cup. And that's one thing that they are targeting. They do want to do that. They want to make the playoffs. That's something that they haven't done consistently. And as you look at this team right now on paper, I think it's one of the better teams in MLS.
You mentioned Vanni Sartini there, and the guy is great. He's just oozing charisma. He's getting it done on the pitch as well. Is Vancouver really embracing this guy now as one of their own?
I think so, and I think that we're starting to see it now on this current road swing. I wouldn't say he's been on the hot seat, but there have been people who kind of wondered if if this can last, if the honeymoon period might be over. Whenever you don't get a result, 2 consecutive games, whether it's a win or maybe a couple of draws, people start to question his ability. But you look at his body of work here with the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's as good as anyone who's been here. I'd argue to say he's been the best coach, the best manager the Whitecaps have had in such a short period of time. And he's filling the trophy cabinet. He's winning the hardware. He's proven it on the pitch as well, week in and week out. And the most impressive thing for me that he's done in a short time with the Vancouver Whitecaps is he's gotten the most out of these players, and he's used players in different positions. One of the incredible things this season is that we saw Julian Gressel be a focal point of their attack, an influential player. They moved him out, and the team hasn't skipped a beat. They still look great every week. So I think that he's a manager who's getting the most out of everyone. And the community here, the soccer community in particular, is really starting to embrace him.
He's so emotional, isn't he? And he's fun to watch on the sidelines. How is he to deal with in the media, in the press conferences, at training?
Good question, James. He's great. Yeah, he's a delight. He's always got a good quote for you, and he loves it just as much as I do, which is great. He'll give you the line, and then he'll appreciate it, which I love. Every time he'll react to it, and he knows that he gets it. I guess he knows that we're looking for those clips. We want to hear what he's thinking, and he's so transparent. Even in the broadcast calls before each match, he'll give the full lineup. He'll tell you exactly what he wants to do, and that's refreshing, as you know, in this industry, in this business, to really to deal with an open book.
That doesn't happen, does it? Let's be honest here.
Really
Trying to get
doesn't.
Information from managers and coaches when you actually are a host broadcaster, and they really should give it, and you don't get it. So I love that already, having not met the man.
He's always open. At training as well, he's open to a candid conversation. He'll be honest about what he thinks with the players. And you know that he's telling the players exactly what he thinks as well. And I think that the players appreciate that as well. They appreciate the honesty, the openness. And one thing that I love about the way he rotates his team is that he tends to keep everybody happy, which can be challenging for a manager as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he's got some pretty good players as well, which helps. And when the team's playing so well, that helps as well. Ryan Gauld is the player that stands out. We'll get to the others shortly, but 10 goals, 9 assists on the campaign. This guy, for me, has to be in the MVP conversation at the very, very least. You see him at training. You see him on a weekly basis. What does Vancouver have in Ryan Gauld?
Special player, to put it simply. I mean, he shows every week, and I think there was a recent article as well that kind of shows how he's the working man's DP, and that's something that Vanni Sartini's talked about since Ryan Gauld's stepped foot on the pitch here in Vancouver. And you see it, in the games. He does the dirty work. He's always hustling. He challenges players. He does what's asked of him. But you see it at training as well. And I think that you're starting to see an influence now on some of the younger players. He's having an impact there with players like Pedro Vite, who's really come into his own this season. Ali Ahmed as well. I actually had a conversation with Ali a couple weeks ago, just asking him about Ryan Gauld in particular. And he says, I see him working so hard at training. I can't afford to take it down a notch at any point. I feel like he was telling me that he has to work as hard as Ryan Gauld or harder at every training session because, a player of his calibers, his quality, is never taking a shift off.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Ali Ahmed, of course, such potential for our country as well.
Yeah.
Vancouver, it seems to me, listen, TFC fans and Montreal fans will hate me saying this, but are becoming Canada's team, given the Sam Adekubi signing, the Richie Laryea signing, of course, Junior Hoylett now as well. It seems like it's almost strategized to be just that. This is a club that has been criticized in the past for its frugality. What's changed this year to get these players?
Well, I think Axel Schuster's done a great job of bringing in really good talent over the last few years. Andre Kubas, Ryan Gauld, who we talked about as well. With this current group, though, I think it's friends calling friends as well. So the Whitecaps definitely doing their work, but with Sam talking to Richie and really, saying that the Whitecaps have something special here, and maybe Vanni Sartini comes into the equation as far as being a manager that players want to play for, and then you get Junior Hoylett coming over as well. It feels like when you have a men's league team or beer league team, you're like, you get a decent player, like, hey, what are your friends doing? Maybe they can come and join us as well. That's kind of what's happening here. You got a good group, but Vanni Sartini seems like a manager that everyone wants to play for. So that's got to be the biggest difference, right? Because these players, some of them could have picked where they want to go. Axel Schuster doing his work as well, and the rest of the scouting department with the Vancouver Whitecaps. They've done a good job in recent years, but Vanni Sartini, the culture of the team, I think, is something that that players want to be a part of.
How are the fans enjoying Richie so far? Just that, the engine never stops, right? He's such a great player, so much fun to watch, so much edge to him as well.
You've known it, James, and you've seen it over the years as well. Yeah, he's got an infectious personality. And going back to Vanni, there's one thing that he said after the Richie signing is, I didn't like playing against him. I didn't like him when he was on the other side of the pitch, but it's great to have him on our side. And yeah, the fans unfortunately haven't had a chance to see them because of this recent road swing. So don't have another home game until September 30th. So they'll have to wait a little while to see him back on the pitch. And they're finally coming into their own. Sam Adekubi missed the last match dealing with a minor injury, so he's listed as day-to-day. But Richie Laryea was one in particular that I know the fans are excited to see once again back at BC Place.
So what do you think? You know the league. You watched it for years. You've seen Vancouver for years. The West is always pretty strong. Is a cup run in the future here?
Yeah, I think this is a team that MLS teams won't want to play in the playoffs because I feel like Vancouver's hitting their stride. The one thing that has ailed them coming into this year and for the first half of the season was winning on the road. They went a full calendar year without picking up a victory on the road. Well, that's not a problem anymore. So they're in great form right now for the last few games here. They've won 3 of the last 4 games on this recent road swing, actually undefeated through these 4 games. So 3 wins and a draw. They're a tough team to beat because of the way they play defensively, the structure, of course, the back three's playing fairly well. And then they're deep. They didn't have Andre Kubas last game, who outside of Ryan Gauld, I think is the next best player for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And Sebastian Berhalter filled in, and he looked fine. He looks great as well. So it's a deep team. It's a deeper. When healthy, they're a tough team to beat.
I think it's just great for Canadian football to see the Whitecaps really relevant once again. And a deep run would be so great for the game in this country. Listen, I mentioned off the top, you're a Chelsea fan. We've got to talk about Chelsea briefly here.
Don't do it.
Well,
Chelsea's
I'm curious,
is that what we're going to do? We're going
to do it.
I'll talk about them. Sam Curran Company, the women's team's fine. They're excellent.
They're great. Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm just curious about, as a Chelsea fan, you're a smart football person. You understand how the game is. And this is very much a big picture project, I think, by Chelsea, right? So Poch comes in, all these young players, big contracts, no experience. I don't think we should be too surprised It hasn't clicked so far. But do you sense the fan base is getting a little frustrated, albeit 5 games into the season?
Yeah, and I'm part of that fan base, and I think after the first week, I was optimistic and hopeful, and maybe tempered expectations a little bit, and said, this is like you said, just a building block. Just it'll take some time for Push to really get his fingers into this, and for the players to kind of settle in. But now, 5 games in, I guess because of the recent history of the team, the fan base is starting to get a little bit impatient. It hasn't been all bad. Some injuries could, once some players come back, I think that could help a little bit. But you're also waiting for players like Mudryk to really turn the corner, and you've been waiting a little while for that as well. So, patience may start to wear thin, but this is definitely a season where top 4, I think, is out of the question, and the fan base has to be comfortable with that. It's chasing a Europa League spot and basically just building and growing week to week. But at some point, you need those results to come, and they're not coming right now.
But you're content to look long term here and figure, okay, get through this season. Let's start really building in the table next season. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I think that you want to see certain things, right? You want to play, I guess, attractive ball. You want to play sound defensively. You want to see the effort there. And then you want to see players take the next step as well. I mentioned Mudryk before. I think that he needs to be that player, that catalyst for the attack. He isn't at the moment. I think Nicholas Jackson's a very good player. Gusto looks promising as well. So there's some pieces. Conor Gallagher getting minutes. I think that he's good in the middle as well. But you hope that this team starts to gel. Enzo's an excellent player. Obviously, we know that. So there's talent there. I'm patient. It doesn't need to be a top 4 finish, like I mentioned, but you want to see them turn a corner and win some of these games, as opposed to continuing to draw and then even take some losses here. I think it needs to be a top 10 finish, though. I don't think that's asking too much for the talent that's on the roster right now, and they currently aren't in a top 10 position.
I think that even the fact that you're asking that question says it all about this season so far.
Yeah.
Chelsea top 10, please. Crazy.
Right,
but it's early still, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. But I guess that's exactly where we have to be at the moment. I may be in the minority, though. There's a large fan base that really wants to see them into the top 4, and I don't see it from this. And it's sad to say, because I think there's enough talent there, but there's more to the game than just having names on paper, as you know. So give Poch some time. Hopefully he gets that time, because managers at Chelsea haven't been awarded that time. So hopefully he gets a little time to help this team gel.
I'm sure he will. Right? I'm sure he will.
Are you
anyway.
sure?
No, never sure with Todd Bowley. Who knows? But we'll see. Like I said, it's early in the European season. It's getting late in the North American season. The good news is for yourself is that Vancouver is playing great football, and I know that good teams are much easier to cover than bad teams. Asa, thanks so much, mate. Really appreciate this. We'll chat again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.